Okay, hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today is the 5th installment of ranking all of my palettes, the series that I've been doing recently. I have obviously 4 videos before this that I'm going to make a playlist of them today. So it should be up by the time that this video goes up if you want to check out the previous videos. Yeah, I've had so much fun making these videos. I hope that you have been enjoying them as well. Basically, I wanted to do a lot of swatching. If this is the first of these videos that you're watching, basically I'm doing these in groups of 10. I'm going through the palettes, talking about like why they rank, whatever, where they rank, and then I do individual swatches as well as like full palette swatches of the palettes, just so that, you know, each shade gets its own individual time to shine. And I also love watching swatching videos. I find them so relaxing, and I just feel like I want to put more of that content out into the interwebs. So that's that on that. This section was harder for me. It's getting more difficult. We've kind of moved past a lot of the palettes that I don't really like love a lot. From here on out, most of these palettes I really enjoy. It's just like a little bit of, it's just little differences here and there, and like certain aspects of each of the palettes that, you know, make the difference in the rankings. Before I get into it, I do want to give 2 quick little mentions. Number 1, Kelsey Brianna J. I will link her channel down below. I was going to say up in the cards, but I always forget to do that, so it will for sure be linked down below. Kelsey started, I'm pretty sure, the whole like ranking makeup thing, so want to give credit there where credit is due, as well as Lauren Made Beauty. Her channel will be linked in the description box as well. She completely 100% inspired all of like the up close individual swatches. And yeah, I think that's all I have to say at the outset. So let's get started. So number 70 is the Dominique Cosmetics Rustic Glam. Now, I had been lusting after this palette for a long time. I'm just making sure that I'm all in frame. I'd been lusting after this palette for a long time before I got it, and I do like it. I think it's actually a pretty unique color story. It's just not my favorite formula. Definitely swatches amazing, but it's one of those ones that like swatches pretty well, but the shadows are almost like thick. And there's something about the formula that I don't love. It's not like my absolute favorite. I think the metallics are really pretty, really shiny, but I do have to, well, I don't have to obviously, but I tend to reach for companion palettes when I use this, just because it's pretty light to mid-toned, and I obviously, if you watch me, you know I love a deep, dark matte to deepen my look up. So that's that on that. I do love the packaging though. Like, she has hefty palettes for sure. is the Huda Beauty Desert Dusk. I really do enjoy this. I do think that Huda Beauty has improved their shadow formula over time for sure. And when I first got this, I used this so much. If you could see this in person, there are so many dips in all of these pans. I've used this in like every which way. It's just not my favorite formula. I definitely prefer her shadows now. And there's a pressed glitter in here, which I don't love. But I do really enjoy the color story, and I do generally like the way these shadows perform, but there are a lot of other palettes that I like more than this one now. I do appreciate though that she's always experimenting with different textures, and I really like, I think that's been one of like the main innovative things that Huda Beauty has done, so I do appreciate it for that, and it's definitely gotten a lot of use. I will say though that this palette doesn't swatch amazingly for whatever reason. It is a little bit older, so that could be it, but I don't necessarily find that with this palette the like swatches correlate to how the shadows perform in the eyes. up, number 68 is the Dominique Cosmetics Berries and Cream palette. This is a little bit higher because I like the color story a little bit more. I like the deeper mattes in this palette, and I do find that I do reach for this one more than the Rustic Glam, but still not my absolute favorite formula or palette, but I do like the color story, and I find in the fall I reach for this a lot. Is the Cadney Lights and Colourpop Dream Street palette. I was so excited again to get this when I first got it. It's such like an OG, you know, like collaboration palette. I think this was her first collaboration palette with Colourpop, although I could be wrong. And I do still really like this. I actually quite like the color story and the formula. It's just not one, again, that I tend to reach for a ton, especially now. But if I like travel somewhere, oops, this is a palette that pretty much covers all my bases except for matte black. And I do like it. It's just, again, not a palette that I reach for all the time. 66 is the Juvia's Place, the Nubian palette. Another one that I used to reach for a ton, and I do think it's a really, really solid neutral palette. It's ranked a little bit lower though because I find that some of the metallics in here are a little bit lackluster compared to other Juvia's Place palettes. I know that this was their first one. Like these two shadows here are more reminiscent of like other, you know, Juvia's Place metallic formulas. These are a little bit more subdued, more just like shimmery metallic shades, not quite as intense, which some people prefer. It's kind of up to personal preference, but for me, I do prefer like more intense metallic shades or shimmer shades. I do like the depth that's in here though. It's just one that, again, I don't reach for a lot, a ton, but it's still like a good palette. Number 65. See, some of these like actually I thought would rank higher. I just have a lot of palettes that I really love. But number 65 is the Juvia's Place, the Masquerade Mini. Again, I used to really, really love this, and I think this would rank a lot higher if there were some deeper mattes in here. All of this like lower, like warm neutral half of the palette is pretty mid-toned, so I usually pull in something to deepen up my look when I use this palette. And again, I used to really love this because there was a point where I was just so into like a warm matte like brown crease or a neutral crease and putting a pop of color all over the lid. I still like it, I just don't tend to do it as much, and I do really love the jewel tone metallics in here. It's just not something that I go for a lot anymore, and doesn't have the depth that I tend to prefer. Number 64 is the Juvia's Place The Festival. Again, I like this. It's just not one that I use by itself, so it ranks a little lower for that reason. I do love the warm tones in here. I love the reds and the corals and the pinks. I reach actually for this mustard a lot, the shade Oro. I just, yeah, use this as a companion palette mostly. The shade Abba also is not super, super intense. It's more of like honestly a satin. So that I wish was maybe a little bit more metallic, especially compared to what I know Juvia's Place is capable of. And I do wish I would prefer if this black was matte, but some people really like a metallic black. So, you know, that's again up to personal preference. But yeah, just because I don't use this by itself, it's a little bit lower in the rankings. Number 63 is ABH Soft Glam. Another palette that I really, really love. I love all of these, all of my palettes, but I do really like this. I love the matte selection in here. I love the range of depth and how you have like different tones and stuff. And I do like this shade Sultry and the shade Bronze I really love, but the metallics in here again are not my personal preference, and I'm just so spoiled with so many of my indie shimmers that I'm a little bit particular with metallic and shimmer shades now. But again, I do really love this palette. I think it's a really great neutral palette. It's just not so exciting to me compared to a lot of the other palettes that I have. So this is where it lies. Number 62 is the Jaclyn Hill and Morphe Volume 1 palette. I thought that this was going to rank higher because I do still really like this palette. Again, similar to the Soft Glam, I mean, you have a lot of different neutral options to go for, but there are other neutral palettes in my collection that I do prefer. So, you know, this is where this lies. And I mean, it's well loved for a reason, but you generally do come out with a neutral look 80% of the time when you use this palette, so for that reason it's here. But what an icon. And number 61, rounding off this video, is the Makeup Addiction Cosmetics Meadow Palette. Now, again, love this palette, and the thing that brings this down, because I love Makeup Addiction Cosmetics formula, I love the mattes, I love the metallics, I just honestly tend to view this palette more as a collection of singles. And honestly, I've been tempted a lot of times, especially because the pans are so easy to remove and the packaging is not amazing. It's not a packaging that like makes me want to keep these shades all together necessarily, but I have been tempted to just take all these shades out and put them into my singles collection. Something has been holding me back, but yeah, I tend to think of this palette more as like a collection of singles, and I tend to use it in that way just because this color story, arranged as it is, isn't one that I tend to use all together a lot, just because I'm not gonna mix. I've done it once and it didn't really look amazing, but like this reddy orange shade and this dark blue are gonna get a little bit muddy. It's not really like the best matte pairing, and yeah, the color story like as a whole doesn't really speak to me, but all of the shades individually are phenomenal. So this is definitely making me think again about just taking these shades out and putting them into my singles. But yeah, especially this bronze, it's like such a beautiful bronze shade. Like, look at this. Oh my god. I mean, you'll see in the swatches, but I just have to profess my love for it right now. to an end. What? And that brings this video to an end. We're getting into the exciting palettes now. I feel like I'm gonna have such a difficult time doing like the next rounds just because this was difficult and the palettes only get better from here. I mean, obviously I really do enjoy and love all of these palettes, but I have a lot of palettes that I love, love, love. You know what I mean? And yeah, so thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you're enjoying this series, and I would love to see you in the next one. Bye.